Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really get into the sources, pull out the key knowledge, the interesting bits, and give you that critical take you're looking for.
Yeah, the stuff that makes you think.
Exactly. And today we're tackling a career that's just, well, it's all over the place in the best way possible. It almost defies, the idea of a straight career path. We are talking about Thomas Griffin Dunne, born 1955, so 70 next year. And this is someone who's been a cult movie star.
Right.
An Oscar-nominated director. He's contended for a Primetime Emmy, and now, just recently, a New York Times best-selling author.
It's quite the list. And when you actually look at the sources, I mean, the term multi-hyphenate, it doesn't even quite cover it, does it?
Not really. It feels insufficient.
Because he's not just dabbling. He's hitting, like, peak recognition in these different fields. Actor, director, producer, writer. Often all at the same time, it seems. So our goal today, I think, is really to pull together these key moments, these professional milestones.
Yeah, synthesize them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also understand, how much his family shaped things.
That family background seems crucial, steeped in narrative and, well, tragedy, too.
Definitely. A family where stories were currency.
Yeah.
And then the big question, right? How does one guy manage to get nominated for?
The big ones, Oscars, Globes, Emmys.
Yeah, all of those, and also win, like the most infamous anti-award out there.
The Razzie, the Golden Raspberry for Worst Director.
Yeah, quite the spread. That contrast is really something.
It really is. That awards range, from the absolute peak of critical respect to the basement of cinematic shame, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
It feels like it sums up his whole risk-taking approach. You could call him a professional chameleon, maybe.
It's a strong term, but yeah.
But looking at the sources, you have to wonder, is that versatility always a strength? Or could it maybe point to a lack of a cohesive brand, Something that might explain those wild swings in how his work is received.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we need to dig into. So our starting point, just the basic facts. Thomas Griffin Dunne, American actor, director, producer.
Got it.
But to really get him, you've got to go back to this very unique, very public environment he grew up in. His story doesn't kick off on a movie set, really.
Wow. Where then?
It starts in the intensely verbal, very public, very literary world of New York society.
Okay, let's unpack that. The foundation. Because those roots, they seem to explain so much. Born in New York City, oldest kid of Dominick Dunne.
Right, the Dominick Dunne.
Yeah.
Journalist, novelist, producer, even actor himself. Famous for chronicling, the rich and infamous.
And his mother, Ellen Beatrice.
An activist.
Right, a high profile in her own way.
Absolutely. So this is a family where telling stories, shaping narratives, it wasn't just a job. It was like how they operated, how they existed.
In the blood, basically.
Completely.
Yeah.
And think about the wider circle. His dad, Dominick, mixing true crime with high society gossip in his writing.
Yeah, Vanity Fair legend.
And then his aunt and uncle, Joan Didion and John Gregory Dunne.
Wow. Wow. Acclaimed writers doesn't even cut it.
Exactly. So he's not just around creative types. He's growing up with the absolute preeminent chroniclers of modern American life. Its hopes, its anxieties, its contradictions.
It's an environment where everything is material. Everything's part of a potential story. That context is inescapable, isn't it?
Totally. And you've got this interesting mix in his heritage, too. His father's side, Irish Catholic.
Okay.
But his mother's side. Her father was Irish American, but her mother, his maternal grandmother, was from Sonora, Mexico.
Oh, interesting. So that adds another layer, a cultural breadth there.
Yeah, maybe that helps explain why he seems so comfortable moving between different kinds of stories, different social worlds in his work later on.
It could well do. But that family structure, already so complex and, public, it got completely shaken, didn't it? Redefined by tragedy.
That's putting it mildly. The sources are crystal clear on this. The murder of his sister, Dominick Dunne, in 1982. That was just seismic.
A horrible event. And it threw the whole family into this intense media spotlight, right? And into the legal system.
Yes, a deeply personal loss that instantly became this huge public drama and legal fight. And the direct outcome of that, professionally speaking, for the family,
was his mother, Ellen, founding the victims' rights group Justice for Homicide Victims.
Exactly. So think about the timing. This is the early 80s. Griffin Dunne is just starting to break through, making these memorable films.
While his family is engaged in this incredibly public, incredibly raw battle over justice, over how victors are treated, over the failures of the system, it's intense.
It's critical context. He's making, an American Werewolf in London, this cult horror comedy, and After Hours, this dark, edgy Scorsese film.
Right.
While simultaneously, his family life is consumed by the grim realities of violent crime and the justice system. That kind of split existence.
Living in both Hollywood fantasy and this harsh activist reality back east.
It must have given him a pretty unique perspective on human drama, both the fictional kind and the all-too-real kind.
You'd think. So, given that backdrop, high society, literary giants, public tragedy, you might expect a very calculated path into the arts. But his own journey into acting, it was a bit rebellious, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely not a straight line. He grew up mostly in L.A., but went to these fancy boarding schools back east, Fay School in Mass,
Okay.
and then Fountain Valley School in Colorado. And that's where he first got the acting bug, apparently, doing school plays.
Right, but didn't something happen there, something defining?
Oh, yeah, the expulsion story. It's kind of legendary, and it's actually a huge turning point for him professionally.
What happened?
He got expelled from Fountain Valley for smoking marijuana
Okay.
the night before he was supposed to perform in Othello.
Oh, wow. Talk about dramatic irony. A moment of sort of youthful rebellion completely derails his academic path.
But crucially, look what happens next. Getting kicked out doesn't send him shrinking home. It immediately pivots him back to New York City.
To pursue acting seriously.
Exactly. And not just, trying to find an agent. He goes for hardcore training. Enrolls at the Neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater.
Which is a big deal.
A very big deal.
Yeah.
Studying under Sanford Meisner himself.
The Meisner technique, that emphasizes truthfulness, right? Emotional reality.
Precisely. The reality of doing. It forces actors to strip away all the artifice and just react truthfully in the moment under imaginary circumstances.
Which, thinking about his upbringing, that very polished, literary, narrative-heavy world of the Dunnes and Didions.
That kind of rigorous, brutally honest training seems vital, doesn't it?
Yeah, like a necessary counterweight. It grounded him in emotional realism, maybe, which you definitely see in his best performances.
I think so. It
Yeah.
gave him the tools beyond just his background.
So the family sets the stage, the expulsion forces the focus, the training provides the skills, and boom, he lands right in the middle of Hollywood in the mid-70s.
Pretty much. His professional debut is at 19. A small part in The Other Side of the Mountain, 1975.
Standard enough start.
Standard start, yeah. But things accelerate quickly, and he lands roles that really define genres, or at least push boundaries.
Okay, let's talk about that early big one. The horror comedy pivot. 1981. An American Werewolf in London.
Jack Goodman.
Jack Goodman, the friend who doesn't make it, dies, gets chewed up, and then keeps coming back.
Has this increasingly decomposed, undead, wisecracking conscience for his buddy David.
It's an iconic role. He has to be genuinely horrifying, but also incredibly funny, delivering advice while literally falling apart in a porno theater lobby.
It's pure dark comedy genius. He nails that balance. The terror, the sharp timing. It's almost like vaudeville meets decomposition.
Huh. That's a great way to put it. And that performance, it instantly made him a cult figure, right? Someone who could handle extreme horror makeup and deliver witty dialogue.
Absolutely. Cemented him early on. But then just a few years later, he shows incredible range. We have to talk about After Hours.
1985. Martin Scorsese directing. A black comedy. That's a huge leap from Werewolves, isn't it? Starring for Scorsese.
Huge leap. But you can see what Scorsese might have seen. It's that same core skill Landis used, conveying desperation and paranoia, but through a comedic filter.
Okay, so tell us about Paul Hackett.
Paul Hackett is this ordinary word processor, right? And he gets stranded in Soho, downtown Manhattan, for one night that just gets progressively weirder, more surreal, more dangerous.
A total urban nightmare.
Completely.
Yeah.
And Dunne's performance as Paul Hackett, he's just trying to get home. He's frustrated. He's increasingly panicked. He keeps trying to apply logic to this totally illogical sequence of events.
It grounds the whole crazy film.
He does. It must have been exhausting. It requires so much vulnerability, so much sustained energy.
And it got noticed. Big time. That role earned him a Golden Globe nomination.
Right. Best Actor, Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, which is interesting in itself, that category.
Yeah, musical or comedy. It underlines that point. Again, his dramatic depth often comes wrapped in this comedic sensibility. We saw it in Werewolf and definitely here in After Hours.
And if you think about the mid-'80s indie film scene, starring in this really unconventional Scorsese movie right after a big cult hit like Werewolf.
It shows guts. He wasn't just chasing mainstream roles.
Exactly. He was choosing challenging, interesting material. He wasn't establishing himself as like a traditional Hollywood leading man, more like a brilliant, versatile character actor who had, crucially, really good taste. He knew a good script.
And you see that pace in his later film roles, too. He keeps popping up in interesting places, mixing it up.
Totally. Think about the range just in supporting roles. He's opposite Madonna in Who's That Girl in '87.
Which was a massive pop culture thing, even if the film itself did well.
Right, but he was there. Then he's Jake Bixler in My Girl in '91, that beloved family movie, a much gentler role.
Providing that emotional anchor.
Yeah. And then he's the smarmy Jared exec in Quiz Show.
1994. Robert Redford directing, Oscar-nominated film. He has to capture that specific 1950s TV world cynicism.
He nails it. And he keeps working in prestigious projects later on, too. Maintains his relevance.
Like his role in Dallas Buyers Club, 2013 Oscar winner, he plays Dr. Voss.
A key supporting part. Shows he's still contributing vital work decades into his career, alongside major stars like McConaughey.
And then more recently, working with Wes Anderson.
Yeah, the legal advisor in The French Dispatch, 2021.
Which tells you something, right? Directors known for very precise, very specific styles. Scorsese, Anderson, they keep casting him.
It suggests they value his ability for detailed, nuanced character work. And he's not slowing down. He's in an upcoming film, Caught Stealing, slated for 2025.
So 5 decades in, still in demand. That's impressive.
It really is.
Okay, so film establishes his range, his critical potential, but television, TV seems to be where he built consistency, and maybe surprisingly, where he got another one of his major award nominations.
Yes, the Emmy nomination. We have to talk about this because the detail on the sources is fascinating. It's for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series for Frasier.
Right, Frasier. Huge show. But what's so remarkable about the nomination itself?
Well, it wasn't for just one standout guest spot. The nomination covers 2 completely separate appearances he made on the show, years apart.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
2 different roles combined for one nomination. How does that work?
Apparently, the rules for guest actor can sometimes allow for that, submitting multiple non-recurring appearances within a certain time frame. And the roles required totally different skills.
Okay, break that down. What were the 2 appearances?
First one, right in the pilot episode, The Good Son, who's just a voice.
A voice?
Yeah, the voice of Russell, one of the callers to Frasier Crane's radio show. So pure vocal performance, tone, warmth, conveying emotion just with his voice.
Okay, that's one skill set, like radio acting.
Exactly. Pure Meisner, but vocal. Then fast forward 3 seasons. Season 3, episode 11, The Friend. This time, he's there physically.
On screen.
On screen, playing a totally different character named Bob, who gets tangled up in one of those classic Frasier farce plots full of misunderstandings.
So a full comedic performance interacting with the main cast.
Right. And the fact that the Television Academy recognized him for both this purely auditory role and then this full physical comedy role, years apart, it just shows incredible mastery of the sitcom medium.
Yeah, it demonstrates he could make a huge impact whether you saw him or just heard him. That's versatile.
Extremely. And that ability to handle both these short, sharp guest spots and also longer arcs that continue throughout his TV career.
Which brings us to a role that probably defines him for a whole new generation of viewers. Nicky Pearson on This Is Us.
Absolutely. Jack Pearson's brother. The troubled younger brother we didn't even know existed for a while.
Right. And that wasn't just a guest spot. That was a major recurring role.
Huge. 28 episodes between 2018 and 2022. A massive commitment to a network broadcast drama. And a really heavy storyline, too. Dealing with PTSD, family trauma, regret.
It allowed him to show a completely different side, didn't it? Very dramatic, very vulnerable, shedding that quirky indie guy image for something much deeper.
Definitely. Anchoring that emotional arc for years. And beyond This Is Us, you see him pop up in all sorts of quality TV.
Like where?
Well, he was the fast-talking consultant Marco Pelios on House of Lies for a stretch.
Oh, yeah, with Don Cheadle.
Right, 8 episodes there. He did a full season, 13 episodes of Trust Me. And he showed up in big prestige dramas like Goliath and The Good Wife.
And didn't he direct an episode of The Good Wife, too?
He did, which perfectly tees up our next section. He was already moving behind the camera.
Blurring those lines. And he's still current, right? Wasn't he just in Only Murders in the Building?
Yep, 2024. Played Professor Dudnoff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, still very much in the mix. What really stands out looking across all these decades of acting?
What's the thread?
He doesn't seem to chase fame or typecasting. He chases the interesting character, the nuanced role. Whether it's, a decomposing werewolf or a paranoid office worker or a traumatized vet or a quirky professor, it's about the material.
Which makes perfect sense given his background, that focus on narrative, on story.
Exactly. And that desire to shape the story, to control the narrative, it wasn't just in picking roles, it led him directly behind the camera.
Right. Let's shift gears then to the other hyphens.
Yeah.
Producer, director. This wasn't an afterthought, was it? It started pretty early on.
Very early. Late 1970s, actually. Around the same time his acting career was taking off, he forms Triple Play Productions.
With collaborators.
Yeah, Emmy Robinson and Mark Metcalf. And this wasn't just, like, a vanity label. It seems like a really deliberate move to get control, to make the kinds of films they wanted to make.
Okay, so what was their first big project?
An adaptation of Ann Beattie's novel, Chilly Scenes of Winter. Came out in 1979 initially, but the story around it is really telling.
Oh, what happened? This sounds like one of those classic Hollywood battles.
It really was. A brutal fight with a distributor, United Artists. UA got cold feet, basically.
About what?
The tone, the ending. They insisted on changing the title first, from Chilly Scenes of Winter to the much softer, kind of generic head over heels. And worse, they demanded a different ending. The original book and the film they made had this realistic, maybe ambiguous, definitely not traditionally happy ending.
Right. True to life, maybe?
Exactly. But UA insisted on tacking on this forced, upbeat, happy ending.
Which probably felt completely wrong after everything that came before.
Totally wrong. It betrayed the whole mood. And predictably, that version of the film, head over heels, it was released. And it bombed. Short run, nobody really got it. Confusing tone.
So what did Dunne and his partners do? Give up?
No way. This is where you see that Dunne tenacity, maybe inherited from his activist mother or his journalist father.
Yeah.
They fought, tooth and nail.
Do what?
To get the film back. They eventually secured the rights, found a different distributor, and years later, in 1982, they re-released it.
Under the original title?
Under the original title, Chilly Scenes of Winter. And crucially, with the original intended realistic ending restored.
And how did that go?
Much better. It found its audience. It was recognized for what it was. That whole experience, fighting the system, protecting the artistic vision.
Must have really cemented his commitment to independence, right? To sticking to the story you want to tell, even if the market doesn't immediately get it.
Absolutely. Proving he'd rather lose commercially short-term to win artistically long-term. After Metcalf left, Dunne and Amy Robinson kept going as Double Play Productions.
And they became pretty significant players in that indie scene.
Oh, yeah. They produced the films that really defined his early image. After Hours, for example.
Which he also starred in.
Right. And other well-regarded films like Baby It's You, the River Phoenix film, running on MT Game 6 later on.
They built a real reputation.
A strong one. Strong enough that by 1986, Double Play signed a 2-year production deal with a major studio, MGM.
Wow. So they weren't just outsiders anymore. They were independent, yes, but recognized forces within the system.
Exactly. Bringing unique, character-driven stories to the screen, often with studio backing. That's a powerful position.
And that producing success, that desire for control, it logically leads him to directing, doesn't it?
It seems like the natural next step. And his directorial debut, well, it took him straight to the top tier of recognition, almost immediately.
What was the project?
A short film called Duke of Groove, 1995.
Okay, and what happened with it?
This is where that career paradox really starts to sharpen. Duke of Groove, it's about a teenager dealing with his mother, leaving his father, navigating that emotional fallout.
Sounds like sensitive material.
Yeah. And his first time directing, it gets nominated for an Academy Award.
Seriously? An Oscar nomination for Best Live-Action Short Film on his debut.
Yep. Shared with the producer, Tom Colwell. It's almost unheard of to go from respected actor and producer to Oscar-nominated director in your very first try.
That's incredible validation for making that leap, so that must have opened doors for feature directing.
You'd think so.
Eddie?
And he did move into features, directing across different genres, too. He did the rom-com Addicted to Love in 97.
With Meg Ryan and Matthew Broderick.
Right. And then maybe his most well-known directing gig, Practical Magic in 98.
Oh, yeah. The Witchy Sister movie with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. Total cult classic now.
Became one, yeah.
Wow.
And directing that, it's interesting, it's a bigger studio film, blending romance, comedy, fantasy elements.
Yeah.
Requires a specific touch.
So he showed he could handle studio projects? Did he do smaller films too?
He did. He directed Fierce People in 2005, which was more of an intimate character study based on a novel. And another rom-com, The Accidental Husband, in 2008. So comfortable moving between scales.
And then his most personal directing work seems to bring everything full circle. Right back to the family narrative we started with.
Exactly. We absolutely have to talk about the 2017 Netflix documentary Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold.
His aunt.
His aunt. This project feels like the ultimate fusion of all his worlds. He produced it. He directed it.
And he's in it, right? Interviewing her.
Yes. He appears on screen with her, guiding us through her life, her work, their relationship. It's this profound act of family documentation.
Using his filmmaking skills to preserve and interpret the legacy of one part of his famous family, it feels like embracing that role, doesn't it? Chronicler.
Absolutely. Taking control of how that family narrative is presented to the world, but from the inside this time.
Which leads us perfectly into the final hyphenate. Because he didn't just stop at documenting others.
No. He became a writer himself, bringing us right back to that core lineage, Dominick Dunne, Joan Didion.
That literary influence feels almost inevitable looking back.
It really does. And he hasn't just dabbled. He's contributed proper articles to some serious publications. The New York Times travel section.
Okay.
Details magazine, Porter magazine, often writing about things like travel, memory, personal reflections. It's thoughtful work.
Not just celebrity puff pieces.
No, not at all. He also put out a collection of short stories as a Kindle single called Air Guitar.
Interesting. So fiction too.
Yeah. But the biggest literary step, the most significant one recently, is the memoir.
The Friday Afternoon Club, released just this year, June 2024. And it hit the New York Times bestseller list.
Right. And that title alone, The Friday Afternoon Club, it refers to his family's regular gatherings. It signals he's now turning that documentary lens fully onto his own life, his own experience within that extraordinary and sometimes tragic family.
Just like his father chronicled the lives around him, now Griffin is chronicling his own.
It really solidifies his role, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As the keeper, maybe the transmitter, of that whole Dunne Didion legacy. The family business was narrative, and now he's formally shaping his own story, the pain, the glamour, the contradictions, into a public text.
It feels like the culmination of all those different professional choices he's made. Actor, producer, director, documentarian, now memoirist.
Exactly. The ultimate expression of it all.
Okay, so let's try and tie all these strands together now by looking at the award spectrum, because this is where his career just gets fascinatingly paradoxical. The extreme highs and, well, the lows.
Yeah, it's quite the roller coaster. Let's recap the highs first. The major industry seals of approval.
Golden Globe nomination, Best Actor for After Hours.
Check. Academy Award nomination, Best Live Action Short Film for directing Duke of Groove.
Check.
Primetime Emmy Award nomination, Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series, for those two distinct roles on Frasier.
Check. That's acting, directing across film and TV. It's the trifecta, basically. Industry recognition at the highest levels.
It demonstrates excellence across the board. And don't forget the Independent World recognition, too.
Right. He actually won the Independent Spirit Award for Best Feature back in '86 for producing After Hours.
Which is huge in the indie world. Plus, other honors, like a Pioneer Filmmaker Award from a festival in 2000, and acting awards from festivals like Sarasota and Sedona later on for a film called The Discoverers.
So consistent recognition from peers and festivals for his commitment to quality, often independent work throughout his career.
Exactly. Highs.
Yeah.
Validated highs.
Yeah.
But then you hit the other end of the spectrum, the polar opposite.
The Razzie.
The Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Director, 2013.
It's just such a jarring contrast, isn't it? An Oscar nominee for directing holds a Razzie for directing. How does that even happen?
Okay, context is key here.
Yeah.
He won the Razzie for directing a segment called Veronica, in that absolutely notorious anthology film, Movie 43.
Oh, Movie 43. I remember the buzz around that. It was supposed to be outrageous, right? Critically savaged.
Universally panned is probably fair. It was this huge, sprawling, incredibly vulgar sketch comedy film. Tons of directors involved. Peter Farrelly, Brett Ratner, others. And a massive, star-studded cast doing intentionally offensive stuff.
So his Razzie was for just one part of that collective disaster.
Yeah, the Razzies sometimes give awards to multiple people for collaborative works like that. But the question remains, right? What does it say about his professional judgment, or maybe his sense of adventure?
Then an Oscar-nominated director signs up for a segment in a film seemingly designed purely for shock value. It feels like such a deliberate swerve away from the nuanced, emotionally real work he's often praised for.
It signals maybe a profound willingness to experiment,
Yeah.
to take huge creative risks even if they might blow up spectacularly.
Like he was chasing some extreme boundary-pushing comedy, maybe, something totally different.
Possibly. A far cry from Meisner realism, that's for sure. And the industry, or at least the Razzies, responded by saying, nope, this whole thing is the worst. It's the perfect final piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah. He aims for the absolute peak. The Oscar nod proves that. But he's also apparently willing to crash and burn in pursuit of something completely off the wall.
That Razzie sitting metaphorically next to his Emmy and Oscar nominations, it just perfectly captures a career that seems driven more by exploration and curiosity than by, say, maintaining a consistent brand or level of prestige.
Before we wrap up with a final thought, we should probably briefly mention his personal life, just as it connects to that theme of family and legacy continuing.
Good point. The sources note he's been married twice. First to actress Carrie Lowell from 1989 to 1995.
And they have a daughter together.
Yes, Hannah Dunn, who is also an actress.
So the tradition continues, another generation in the family business of performance and storytelling.
Exactly. And then he had a shorter marriage later to stylist Anna Bingeman from 2009 to 2010.
Okay, so the acting legacy definitely continues with his daughter.
It does. It keeps that Dunn name linked to Hollywood narrative.
All right, so let's try to bring it all together. When we synthesize this whole career, Thomas Griffin Dunne, from the mid-'70s, basically right up to today and beyond. The scope is immense.
So really
He flows so easily, doesn't he? From being this cult horror icon to an Oscar-nominated director, then a respected dramatic actor on a huge TV show, a documentary filmmaker chronicling his own family, and now a best-selling memoirist.
And if you connect that all back, that diversity, that range, maybe it's not a lack of focus, maybe it's actually a really sustained, decades-long commitment to storytelling itself, just using whatever medium fits the story best at that moment.
Because he grew up immersed in it.
Exactly. Raised by these master chroniclers, Dominick Dunne, Joan Didion, people who saw life itself as narrative material. So his choice, first, to document his aunt's life and legacy.
In the center will not hold.
And then to write his own big family memoir, The Friday Afternoon Club. It feels like confirmation. His core drive, professionally, seems to be about documentation. About telling complex stories.
Whether through comedy or drama or documentary or now prose. Stories rooted in real human experience.
Yeah. He's sort of the living embodiment of his family's obsession with narrative, sometimes reaching the absolute highest peaks of recognition.
And sometimes, earning a Razzie because he aimed for something completely outside the expected box.
Precisely. The whole arc is about legacy, about telling the tale. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay, what have you got?
Well, think about his deep involvement in telling Joan Didion's story. Producing, directing, curating her legacy for that documentary. He was shaping how we see her.
Right. He was the narrator of her life, in a way.
So the provocative question is this. What impact does that experience being the architect of someone else's high-profile family story, especially someone as iconic as Didion, have on your own decision later to write your own definitive personal family memoir?
Does organizing and presenting your aunt's memories, her legacy, does that process somehow inspire you or maybe even obligate you to finally do the same for yourself, to formalize your own place in that narrative?
Does one act of documentation naturally lead to the next?
Yeah.
Especially within such a story-obsessed family.
That's a really compelling question. Something to definitely mull over as you reflect on the very deep and, sometimes very contradictory career of Thomas Griffin Dunne.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.